Our shared students.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Oh.
If I can get it set up, it will be.
It's recording.
Oh, never mind.
It's Connie's phone because she's.
Connie's turned online. She's not.
Yeah.
What? Huh?
Is that a top one? Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Everyone. Or how do I get- Everyone, I'm going to open the meeting at 5:33. Thank you. I'll start by acknowledging the traditional owners. The Curtin Student Guild pays our respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander members of our community by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which the Bentley campus is located, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and on our Kalgoorlie campus, the Wongatha people of the Northeastern Goldfields. We acknowledge and respect their continuing culture and the contribution they make to the life of this university, city, and this region. So I'll start with members present. We have Dylan, me, Morgan, Ebony, Connie, Zobia, Connie joining us online, Zobia, Tom, Tossin, Jael, Aster, Sada,
Hey, Bonnie.
Bonnie on her way, Mia, Max, Nor, Marianne joining us online, and Andrew, student assistant Andrew. Yeah. Others present, none. Apologies and absences, none more. Yeah. And no absence. Okay. I'll just start to see if there is any disclosure of any potential or perceived conflicts of interest. I'll go with Ebony. Thank you.
I have a registered conflict with item 8.1.
Thank you. Oh, Dylan.
I have the same registered conflict with item 8.1.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Minutes of the previous meeting. There's a motion that the representation board approves the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 13th of November and the 1st of December as a true and accurate record of the proceedings. Can I get a mover, please? Zobia, and can I get a seconder? Ebony, thank you. Matters arising from the minutes? Nothing? Okay. Oh, we gotta vote for that? Okay. All like mover and seconder. Okay, can I get a mover? Oh, we already did that? Wait. Wait, what about public question time? Okay, okay. Can we have all in favor of the motion? Thank you. And all those against? Okay, cool. The motion carried. Thank you, Nor. Next. Yeah. Next, I'll move on to matters arising from the minutes. Any comments? No? Oh, no? Okay. Next to public question time, which I think there are none streaming public. Yep. And we'll move on to reports and KPIs. So I'll start with the president. Over to Dylan.
Thank you. Welcome back. Welcome to the first big meeting of reps for this year. I have provided my report. KPIs for exec go to Guild Council, so that's not up here. There's been a lot going on since the last reporting period. So this encompasses from the 14th of November last year, so a little chunk of time. But it has been a very strong start to the year for the Guild. There is a lot of significant advocacy and representation underway across a number of key issues. There is protected industrial action currently happening by the NTEU, and that's now in effect with union members that are staff seeking to minimise disruption during online delivery. During a campus attendance ban, there is a bit of back and forth between the union and the university on this front. I'm informed that there is more bargaining meetings happening this week. So I'll stay tuned to see what the outcome of that is. It does appear that there is limited uptake of union members participating in this industrial action, so that could have an impact on the outcomes there. From what I'm hearing, the impact to students is very, very minimal at the moment, but I'll keep you up to date on that information. We obviously remain alert to discussions around a potential university merger, and very happy to discuss that a little bit later on in the meeting on an agenda item today as well. We have issued clear public statements condemning both the Bondi terror attack and the Perth Invasion Day attack. We are closely monitoring the proposed university scorecard system from the Special Envoy on Anti-Semitism and the Royal Commission into Anti-Semitism and Social Cohesion, working nationally through the NUS to protect student voice, civil liberties and academic freedom. Operationally, momentum across the Guild remains very strong. Major capital works are progressing throughout the Guild precinct at the moment, including planning for new equity spaces in what is currently the Guild Club's HQ zone. This will also include, as part of that, once the equity spaces move out of that area, reconfiguring the ground floor of the Guild office, which will include expanded student assist facilities and consultation rooms. We're also progressing with tavern and GC Central refurbishments, along with planning for how we can best utilise those spaces and also the remaining space in the Guild for clubs, collectives, activities, community building, those kinds of things that we really want to get behind. I know there's a lot of different ideas floating about at the moment, so that'll be a fantastic process to come together and see these projects come to fruition. I just want to say thank you for all the reps, your incredible work during O Week. It's a tough time, particularly for faculty reps, ISC and PSC. There's a lot of sessions to go to, a lot of talking to be done. I know that extends to all representatives running sessions as well, welcoming students, not just to university, but also to membership of the Guild, and letting them know that we've got their backs and that we are here and ready to support them in what they need here at university and to make their time at university easier. It's going to be a tough year on a lot of fronts for the Guild and for student advocacy. Again, on the matters relating to racism, we've seen the report released just yesterday from the Human Rights Commission. This is a major problem that we need to tackle head on. I know that's something that the university, that is a view that the university shares. So we're going to be needing to work really hard on that. The National Code relating to gender-based violence is a big topic at the moment. That has been implemented as of January 1 this year. I think universities across the country, including Curtin, are still catching up to what that actually means and what that looks like. So there will be a lot of continued work on this front. There are big national campaigns to improve the conditions for students. These include campaigns being pushed by CAPA to raise PhD stipends. These include a major campaign this year from the National Union of Students to reverse the Job Ready Graduates package. And they will also include important work on expanding paid placements. And I know there's a particular push at the moment for students in health, being pushed by the Health Students Alliance and also the Health Services Union. But there are also other mandatory placements that deserve well-paid placements, and also to not just expand the eligibility, but the amount that's getting paid. And then the really big important issue is the consistent attacks that students are under when it comes to our freedom of speech here on campus and off of campus. We see horrific violence being perpetrated against protesters in Sydney. We've seen anti-protest laws now be introduced in the West Australian Parliament. It's not lost on me that this guild proudly stood behind and backed a very successful encampment that happened on the lawns just outside of this building just a little under 2 years ago, and that the horrific violence that was perpetrated by two radicalised individuals in Bondi is now being linked back to a movement against genocide and the freedom of people to come together and oppose that genocide. This is something that we are going to need to tackle head on as a guild. It's something that we are going to need to stand shoulder to shoulder with whoever in the community is willing to stand by us and to push back against this, and to say that university is a place where people need to come together to challenge society. That's why universities exist as the institutions that they are today. We are not just job factories, that we are places for people to come and explore, to learn, to engage. That always needs to be respectful of different people and different ideas. But we cannot be in a world where we are just saying that we cannot say particular things. I think we're heading down a very dangerous path at the moment, and it's going to be very important for student unions to stand up and also to put pressure on our universities to stand up as well. And I've been having a lot of conversations with the university on this, and I do know there are a lot of allies on our side in the broader academic community. And we need to say that enough is enough, and we need to defend that position and this stance as well as standing with First Nations people. At the moment, it's a very tricky and difficult time for many people in the community following the incident that happened on Jan 26 at the Invasion Day rally. The Guild was there. We were handing out water. A number of officers affected as part of that, and that's not lost on me either. So we're doing work within the Guild to see what we can do. We're never going to be in the position where we say we don't go to protests again. We can't be cowed by this. We do need to stand up and back people in. So that's sort of the really difficult summer, I think, that we've had to sort of set the context and the tone of where we're at. Notwithstanding that, I think there are a lot of really exciting opportunities for the Guild this year. I think we're coming through a period of major change within the organisation, a bit of renewal. We've improved our financial position. That might be areas that are sort of the purview of Guild Council, but it gives you a bit of context for a lot of things are happening now, and we can put the resources of the Guild behind improving the lives for students here on campus. Some of the things that we've just managed to do by virtue of that financial position improving is increasing the funding to Student Assist for increased financial support. We've done the same for clubs and societies, for community building on campus. These are things that we're going to expand. Growing those services, being able to employ more Student Assist officers, tailoring our services so that we're working, and I work very closely with Andrew on being able to, and we'll continue to, how we can best sort of orient our services so that they help students in need. So there's a lot of exciting work happening. I would rather not be anywhere else at the moment. Like, I'm really excited to continue in this role. I'm really excited to work alongside you. I've seen you all take up your roles. Sorry for taking up so much time, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to set where we're at. Potentially more scary discussions later on when we talk about mergers, so we'll keep that for that. But lots of stuff for us to sink our teeth into, and very happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dylan. Did anyone have any questions for Dylan and the report? Okay, we'll move on to the next report, Vice President of Education. That's me. I'll take my report as mostly read. Before I start, I would like to say I'm really excited to start this role this year. Obviously, we've already started. I've spent the beginning of my role mostly going and meeting academics, going to meetings, going to WA Teaching and Learning Forum, seeing where we are currently. I think there's a lot of work to be done in the academic space with Assessment 2030 and AI and things that are ongoing, like Dylan said, like mergers, freedom of speech. So I'm excited, and I'll take that mostly as read. Did anyone have any questions? All good. I'll move on to Vice President of Sustainability and Welfare, Morgan.
Yeah, I'm happy to take my report mostly as read. I would like to thank everyone's assistance who helped set up the temporary prayer space over the past few weeks as the Masala was closed for inconveniently timed renovations with very little notice. So thank you to everyone who helped with that. I would also like to announce that there are now frozen meals as part of the food pantry, thanks to an initiative with the population health team in health sciences. Just a bunch of food to go with your extra 8 that you get at the pantry. And yeah, happy to take any questions.
Did anyone have any questions for Morgan? All good. I'll move on to Faculty of Business and Law Representative Ebony.
Hello. I just wanted to say a couple of things on my report. I've been spending a lot of time meeting with FBL clubs, as I think that these guys are some of the most involved in the faculty, and it'll be a great way for me to sort of start the role and get to know the students that, you know, are in the classes that I'm not in, for example. And a lot of the conversations I've been having with them are about them sort of being the eyes and ears for the guild. And they seem to be really supportive of that, which is fantastic. O Week went really well. I had a chance to introduce myself to lots of students, and some of them have already sort of been in contact regarding different issues they're facing. So I've been able to pass them on to Student Assist or Student Wellbeing, which is great. Something I will also note regarding O Week is on the last day, on the Friday, I was giving a presentation to the new law students. The law school runs a separate orientation. At the end of the day, there was a Q&A session, and there were a couple of questions about sort of students had a lot of commitments they'd already sort of foreseen for this semester. They had kids, mental health issues, part-time work, and they were concerned about stress and sort of, you know, possibly getting overwhelmed throughout the semester. I then sort of use that opportunity to speak about, you know, extensions and reaching out to wellbeing services around the uni. And there was another member of staff there from the law school who kind of really undermined what I had to say. So I think this will be a ongoing theme throughout the semester and the year. So I'd be interested to hear if any other reps in faculty are dealing with anything like that. I think that would be a space for us to sort of work together on, and making sure that if students need extensions, they're allowed to have them, and that sort of thing. Otherwise, I'll take my report as read.
Thank you, Ebony. Did anyone have any questions for Ebony? All good. Okay, I'll move on to Faculty of Science and Engineering. Connie, she's online, but she seemed to disappear. Wait, no. Okay, so we're gonna move on to Faculty of Health Sciences. I'll move on to Zofia.
Hello, everyone. Excited to be working with you all this year. I will take my report as mostly read. Just a couple of things to note since the submission of the report. In the report, I mentioned that there was a student who I met during O-Day that was interested in getting some sort of support or like connections with mature age students. I ended up coincidentally seeing them on Friday, and they did say that they attended the orientation session on Thursday. No, not entirely orientation session, but ACE session on mature age student support. On Thursday, it went well. I have not contacted them again to see exactly what was good about that. But they said that they had started connecting with other mature age students as well, and they were in the process of either like looking into making a club or something like that. So I just want to monitor that a little bit to see if there's any other ways that the guild can support mature age students. I will be in contact with clubs very soon. I do like the idea of having them be the eyes and the ears of the guild, as my degree is quite isolated from other degrees around the health faculty. So I want to get in contact with them. We've got lots and lots of good engagement in person and online during last week. And I also have gotten a couple of expressions of interest from students who are interested in volunteering with myself and with the guild. So I'm excited to see where that goes as well. Other than that, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Zobia. Did anyone have any questions for Zobia? Yeah, Ebony.
I don't know if this is a question for Zobia or other exec, but I also had a student who come up to me at ODE about mature age students and the opportunities for them. I don't know if there's space like beyond, facilitating them having a club, but possibly having something on a website somewhere, a web page to sort of put all of that information in one spot.
Yep. Did anyone want to address that? All good. I'll take it, Dylan.
Happy to maybe put down as a action item. It could be something to run through with Student Assist, maybe to make you do like a web page back and forth on some sort of connection based things maybe, but we can investigate and bring that back to next meeting, just have a chat and see what happens. But yeah, I do think the best way is for that sort of organic creation. So I'd certainly be keen on a club, but I do know that mature age students do require different services than non-mature age students, and it is something that we obviously don't have a mature aged officer here at the Guild, but we probably can't have an officer for everyone. So it's just a case of figuring out how we build that into the Guild structure as well. So happy to go away and take a look at that.
Yeah, I would just like to comment that as well. I think it was Ebony who brought someone to ODE to me who also had a question about that. And I tried to Google it at the spot and I couldn't find much. So I feel like a web page would be really great. I don't know if Connie has audio. Should we try? Yep, Connie, can you hear me? Oh, she said she can hear me. Okay, Connie, did you want to speak on your report?
Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Awesome. Yeah, so sorry that I dropped out for a few minutes. But for my report, I would say that over the last 2 months, I've mostly been focusing on trying to connect with people, the students in the faculty. Obviously in O-Week, it's a lot to do with the clubs and the first years, but I've been trying to curate ideas of events that would best bring together the very widespread science and engineering cohort, particularly like between first, second, third, and fourth years, rather than actually engineering and science. Yeah, I would say it's mostly focusing on trying to get ideas of what to focus on with the survey, which had like almost 200 people complete, which was good. And trying to encourage people to message me either on the Instagram or email me through the science and engineering email. That's what I spent most of my time on, especially last week.
Thank you. I'd just like to mention that Connie rejoined at 5:53. Did anyone have any questions for Connie's report? All good. We'll move on to Faculty of Humanities. Tom?
Yep, I'll take mine as mostly read. I'd just like to, I couldn't attend O-Week due to recovering from a surgery. I'd like to thank all my colleagues who attended orientations and the like in my place, and also my ODE volunteers who apparently were great yappers. So yeah, it's good to hear. That's all. I'll take any questions.
They were lovely. Did anyone have any questions for Tom? No? We'll move on. Next, we'll move on to Student Assist. Andrew.
Thank you. I'm going to take my report as read, but I would like to use this opportunity just to say hello to everybody. I've been acting in the Student Assist Manager role since mid-December, but I've been sort of confirmed into the role full time as of about 2 weeks ago. So for those in the room that I haven't met before, it is nice to meet you. If you do have any questions about students that you might wish to refer to Student Assist as a service, or even just how to handle any advocacy or representation matters, please come and knock on my door. Certainly happy to have a chat to you and work out what we can do. Not just myself, but many of the members of my team as well have many years, in fact, decades of advocacy experience. So we are certainly happy to share that experience with you and help you with your work you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Andrew? Yep, Mia.
Hi, I just had some questions because you mentioned that Student Assist is no longer going to be dealing with stuff like CAP plans and that kind of thing, and that it was going to be referred to student wellbeing, which obviously is a curtain service, and so like it's kind of difficult in that aspect. And then also some being referred to accessibility services. Is there a particular way that you like differentiate what? And also because I would get a lot of questions about that, and I know in your initial email you said to send people to you. Do I still send people to you?
Thank you. Good questions. Okay, I'll actually just touch on that last bit first. If you are seeing any cases directly coming to you, feel free to refer to them to the Student Assist inbox. But if you are undecided or they seem a little bit more complex than normal and you don't know what to do with them, feel free to come and have a chat to me directly. Regarding the case type review, which we undertook in January, I won't waffle on too much. I'll focus on the CAP ones which you raised. So the majority of CAP issues that come to us are you can probably put into two categories. So that would be the first one where students are identifying that a unit coordinator or course coordinator haven't allowed the CAP adjustments for a unit. Unfortunately, that is within the scope of unit coordinators. It's within their remit to allow that. If we thought it was particularly unjust, we would certainly take that on as a case. The other types of CAP questions we get, and the majority of the CAP cases we get, are simply students asking how to get one. So in those cases, we've got a pro forma now which we send out to students if we do get those queries, or we've got our reception team advising students, here's how you go and get one, just go down to accessibility. So in reviewing CAP issues in particular, the reason I put that there as a sort of one of the ones to review is simply because we're not actually advocating on many of those cases. We're just telling students, here's how to go to get one, and then yeah, go to accessibility and have a chat to them about it. Particularly if unit coordinators have declined the particular student's CAPs because of maybe the adjustments aren't able to be fit within the assessment criteria. Generally, accessibility are better positioned to argue that because they actually understand the particular circumstances of the student's CAP. Whereas because we're not, unfortunately, we're not really qualified to be able to assess accessibility needs. So the accessibility officers are much better positioned to do that. But as I said, if there was a sort of unjust scenario, we certainly would be taking the case.
Thank you. Did anyone have any questions for Andrew? Is that all? Yep. We'll just move on to International Students Committee President. That's Tawson.
Thanks, Sadia. Hope everyone doing well. And yeah, I would say the week and all the stuffs went well so far. It was fun. A lot of people came and know about the International Committee, obviously from Guild, and had few meetings before the orientation, like with the Dean International, that how can we increase the involvement. And we both acknowledged that getting feedback from the ground level is pretty much important for both of the Guild and the other representatives and things from the university. And I also attended the science and engineering pre-orientation for the international students, which was, I think, a great way to mingle with a lot of international students. They came, say hi, saying that they have seen somewhere me, and most of them were very excited to know what Guild do, what International Committee do. And also, yeah, I'm in continuous touch with Beata from Cartoon Connect regarding the upcoming Cafe Connect, which will be provided by Guild. But yeah, thank you everyone. and looking forward to more for the rest of the semester.
Thank you, Tossin. Does anyone have any questions for Tossin? All good. We'll move on to Postgraduate Students Committee President, JL.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I said hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm so much excited. Actually, this is my first time to be with you in such a meeting. It's a great honor indeed. My report, I take it as read, and I will just want to reiterate that my agenda to include every postgraduate student to commit to their success and also to commit engaging in the university is still continuing. I've been on a number of board meetings, and I have, first of all, wanted to see that the board acknowledges the importance of equity, because we stand for equity and they have promised to look into it. My promise is I'll continue informing you of what goes on so that I can get support and insights from you as we continue forward. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, JL. Does anyone have any questions for JL? All good. I'll move on to our career officer, Aster.
Hey guys, I'm just gonna take my report as mostly read. A few things I want to add on that were in my report because it only happened after I submitted it. I forgot to mention that on O Day especially, there were a few students that came up to me asking about like changing their names on their student IDs to their preferred name, and also just changing their email addresses so it does not display their dead name. Those issues I have referred them to Current Connect and everything's solved now, as far as I know that they told me. Also another thing that was written in our report that needs updating because only written it down like it happened literally a few days ago. The HIV vending machines, we will be picking them up on Wednesday with Morgan. So yeah, those are two things I didn't write in. Yeah, any questions?
Thank you, Aster. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, Morgan.
I would just like to say I'm very happy that I'm finally getting my self-test vending machine. Sorry, the guild's self-test vending machine. That is all.
Thank you. No questions. I'll move on to our women's officer, Sada. Right, I would just like to also mention that Sada's report was sent as an email, a circular, to everyone. That's it. Thank you.
Hello. Oh, okay. Hey guys. So my report for today is going to be verbal mostly. Just wanted to start off by thanking Morgan for their hard work covering for me at the women's stall for O Day. From what I've heard, it went really successfully, and we had a successful giveaway that was collected. Yeah, I think so. I hope so. Yeah, it was collected, which went really well. Thankfully, I was able to organize that before I left by sending an email to Noor and Tani about what I wanted in it. Yeah, so that's that for O Day. As for, I guess, like the issues that I'm going to be tackling this year, we're mostly looking at the period products. Oopsies. I've had one meeting with Morgan and Astor about them, but unfortunately, since I was on leave until the 16th, there was a meeting that I did miss, but I will catch up on that. Additionally, thanks to their hard work, we've been granted access to the engineering pavilion. So now we'll be able to supply that as well. Other things that I'm going to be doing is just kind of continuing the work of Bridget, who is the previous women's officer, to install free sanitary products across campus, so more of them hopefully. And, you know, just
other things like boosting engagement on the Women's Guild Instagram and aiming to post 1 post per month. Additionally, I'm hoping to do some partnered events with culturally diverse or different groups that we have. And as well as collaborating with at least 2 guild portfolios or affiliated clubs across the year. Something that has sort of piqued my interest was that Zobia approached me with an idea regarding a collaborated event between the health department and women's, and I think that this would be really good for Curtin Women's Health Week, which occurs in September. So hopefully we'll be starting planning for that soon. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Some events that I'm looking to, I guess, do for the women's department of the guild this year would be a stall at International Women's Day. I was also planning on doing a potential panel in the future for this semester. So that's for this semester. As for next semester, still in the works, but the Women's Health Week is definitely something that I'm going to be looking at. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, I went as a student to one of these gender-based violence, I think it's like a consulting group thing that the uni was running. Have you heard anything like about that or had any plans for like this semester on that sort of thing?
To do like a panel on it, or?
There's like the uni's changing some stuff. I know with like the Respect at Curtin type, what's the things they get you to do when you first become a student.
The module. Oh, like the consent ones?
They're changing those. Yeah, the consent ones and the respectful relationships, I think it's called, as part of a broader like gender-based violence at universities thing. I just wanted to know if you had seen anything on that or were planning to do anything on that.
No, unfortunately, I haven't seen anything on it, but now that you've brought it to my attention, I'll definitely have a look. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks.
Thank you. Just go to Dylan. Yeah.
Just know that EngPav is obviously not accessible to students that aren't studying engineering. So I'm just wondering what we can do for other students down that area that don't have access to the engineering pavilion. Because I know that was the original thought pattern behind that being put in the, I don't know the number of it, but the one where the basement cafe is, was that EngPav is restricted access.
Yep, we'll give it to Aster.
Okay, so the period prog dispenser right now that is from the period prog dispenser that is in the engineering pav right now was moved from the mining building. Yes, that building has like full access, but the thing is like throughout, like since December, I've only need to top that thing up once, and that is just one, not even a full bag of pads. Like for reference, to fully top up a dispenser, you need 6 bags. And I'm assuming, okay, so 6 bags, 1 bag is 8 pads-ish. So the fact that I only need to top that thing up, not even full 1 bag, is insane since December. And for reference as well, the one in the library needs topping up every like 2 to 3 times a week. So I just fully believe that having it in the mining building originally was a waste, especially after talking to a lot of engineering students. People don't usually hang out there. It's always like just lecture halls and a lot of staff offices that are upstairs. While talking to people in the engineering path, because Tani did bring me on a tour once I mentioned I'd never been there before, and also talked to a lot of the girlies from CEC. And from what I know, they told me that in their office, in one of the drawers, they have like a lot of period products that are for the students, and that the only way that a lot of students there can get period products is if someone's in the office. But again, that is coming from their money or club money, something like that. So I proposed the idea that it would be a better use for the dispenser that was originally in the mining building to be moved there instead, and that's the reason. In the southern campus area, there is one dispenser in Creative Quarter as well, so that is accessible for everyone there. The closest one from the engineering path other than that would be the Creative Quarter or the library one. We do plan on, me and Sarah do plan on expanding on more period product dispensers, but first we just need to figure out the pad situation. And I believe that we are trying to set up a Coles business account to buy more pads so that we can sustain having more dispensers, basically.
I'm just very completely understand. I think it makes a lot of sense. Very conscious that engineering students are a bit more active on campus than the science students. So it's just how do we make sure, maybe that's working with Connie to when we're looking at installing new ones, maybe figuring out where we can put one that's more in the science sort of areas around that sort of side of campus. But yeah, it's just something worth mentioning because I know that in that faculty, obviously the engineering students are generally on campus more proactive, that kind of stuff. So yeah, just making sure that we're putting something that's easily enough accessible to the science students, I think would be handy when we're looking at installing new dispensers. But I'm sure I get a lot more use in the EngPav than where it was.
Any more questions or comments? Yep, Ebony.
I was just going to also add, talking about more period product dispensers. I had in my KPIs to advocate for there be a dispenser at the Murray Street campus. I'd love to be able to work with you two with that as well to get it onto the other Curtin campuses as well.
Thank you. Any more questions or comments? All good. I'll move on to our accessibility officer, Mia.
Hi everyone, I take my report as mostly read. There are two things that I want to comment on. First of all, O-Day went quite well. We had quite a few flyers taken, particularly booklets that I tried this year, which were quite good. I also I made a CAP brochure, which was also quite popular because at the moment it's quite difficult to find information about that on the website. So that went pretty well. I did also run a disability information session. There was 7 attendees, but most of them I hadn't met before at any of the other events, so that was good. I also, the session was based on a PowerPoint, and I've made the PowerPoint available on our Linktree, and it will stay up for at least the remainder of this year. I also have it available to any students who email me and request it. I can send it to them as well. That has been looked at a couple times already. So yeah, that's it. Any questions?
Yeah, Dylan.
A question more than a comment. Fantastic work. Wondering what we can do more. This is just me musing out loud to get those kind of resources on our website. So it might be something to link up again. Maybe we can talk with Student Assist and Student Engagement about where that naturally sits on the website. I've got my gripes with the website, but I think if we're making these kind of resources, particularly to be accessible for online students as well, I think it's quite handy. So great that it's on the Instagram, but then just something worthwhile us thinking about is if we're producing resources, would also be good to put on the website. There's not an easy way to do it at the moment. It's not like you can just fill in a form and it gets uploaded, but we can look at how we can work with Hadir and Morgan on what we can do to make sure those resources are accessible to everyone.
Yeah. Any more questions or comments on that? All good. Next, we'll move on to higher education developments. Marianne, who is joining us online.
Yeah, I don't have anything more to add. I think Dylan mentioned that the racism report had been released since that higher education document was submitted. But other than that, nothing to add. Any questions? Happy to answer.
Yep. Does anyone have any questions or queries for Marianne? All good. We'll move on to ethnocultural officer Max.
Yeah, my report is mostly as read. I would like to add, O-Day was pretty good. My main goal was to get some people interested in joining the collective, and I've gotten several EOIs for that, which I'm very happy about. I've contacted them, and I will continue to contact them as they come in. Yeah, one of the things I'm working on right now, and I plan to work on throughout the entire year that I haven't written in here, is the social media. Compared to all of the other Instagrams, really, This one was established a lot later, and as such, it has a much smaller following base. And you can really tell a difference if, say, a post is a collab post with the guild page, or the guild page is shared on the stories, as opposed to just when I'm posting it and promoting it. So a lot of my work this year will be to kind of utilize the tools within Instagram and also physical posters and events and things like that on campus to grow the following of that account to match the growth seen in all of the other accounts.
Thank you, Max. Did anyone have any comments or questions for Max? All good. We'll move on to our First Nations officer, Bonnie.
Oh, this is so formal. Well, I will also take my report mostly as read. I've picked up that everyone says that in the beginning. But I would like to add that during O-Day, a few students queried where to learn more about Australia's Aboriginal and/or Torres Strait Islander culture and history and how to be better allies. I noted that many of the international students were not aware of Australia's true history. So I would like to query if anyone is aware if there is a current Aboriginal cultural awareness or orientation sessions for our international students.
I don't think there are orientation sessions, but that is something that I think is a really good idea. I know that there is an elective unit that is elective and counts towards, I think, the vast majority of courses run by Professor Simon Forrest, which is quite an immersive unit. There's certainly more work to be done. Curtin has just had Deputy Vice Chancellor Indigenous appointed, which is a new role. Professor Jonathan Bullen in there, so I'm sure that might be something when I think it'd be natural for you to meet with him shortly. I think he's only just a couple of weeks into the job. I think it's a great idea, but I don't think there's anything incorporated into orientation, but would make a lot of sense.
Perfect. Thank you. I know like a lot of the elective units you have to pay up front because I know that I wanted to do one and it's like about $5,000. So I opted not to do the elective, but yep. And then other than that, on Tuesday, I met with the NUS First Nations officer and we discussed different ways of working together, campaigns around treaty and deaths in custody, as well as a potential First Nations network for First Nation officers within universities. We also spoke about the racism report and the currently available resources and what resources need to be developed to not only support our First Nation students, but our allies as well. And I have nothing further to add.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Bonnie? All good. So there's a motion that the representation board notes the reports. Can I get a mover, please? Ebony, thank you. Can I get a seconder? Thank you. Can I get all those for the motion? All those against? Yep, I'll say that motion is carried. We'll next move on to the representation board approves the submitted KPIs. Can I get a mover? Thank you, Zobia. A seconder. Takes Morgan. All those for? Thank you. All those against? I'll take that as moved. I also would just like to note that if the meeting runs over sundown, we'll take a break for 5 minutes for all our Muslim members observing Ramadan and fasting at around 7:03. Next, we have items for discussion and resolution. 8.1, endorsement of the AMW campaign. The motion is that the representation board formally endorses and supports the AMW's No Closing Gates Without Opening Dates campaign for COLI, commits to supporting union-led campaigns that advance workers' rights, climate justice, and a just transition to net zero. We have a mover, Ebony, and seconder, Dylan. Ebony, would you like to speak to motion?
Yep. If you guys don't have the preamble and stuff, do you? You do. Okay, cool. Great. If you've had a chance to read it, I think it speaks for itself. Just a little bit of context. I grew up in COLI and was very involved with this campaign when I lived down there. The Just Transition movement isn't just about the transition to net zero. It's about it being just, or justice. So at the moment, there are a lot of people employed by the mining of coal and coal-fired power generation. And instead of just stopping it in its tracks and all of those people losing their jobs, it's about attracting new industry to town and making sure that someone on a 200K salary working in a mine doesn't just have to go and work in a cafe job, for example, and then they can't support their family, and then that generally means they move away from town. So it's about supporting the town. It's something I'm very passionate about, and if the whole campaign is about requesting that the federal government put in some funding, because so far they've just been, supporting it in speeches and verbally supporting it, but not actually supporting it financially. The state government has spent millions of dollars in Collie, but without federal government support now, it's not actually going to go anywhere. And this is one of the most complex transition movements that has been happening all over the world. There are lots of people who are looking at this at the moment. So it's really important that the federal government supports it. So I think by us endorsing it and just, showing solidarity with other unions, it would be great.
Thank you, Ebony. Any other questions or comments regarding the motion? No, we'll take that to a vote. All those for? All those against? Yep, I'll take that motion as carried. Next, we'll move on to 8.2, express bus to Curtin now. That the representation board advocates for an express bus to Curtin University that travels between Oak Street Station and Canning Bridge Station. Sorry. It's moved by Ebony and seconded by Hadia. Ebony, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, sorry, me again. I think it makes sense. All of us have experienced pressures with parking, for example, and just a bit more context behind this. It's the state government is making moves to make changes to the hockey stadium north of campus, which will actually impact a lot of parking bays for students. So it advocates for an express bus to campus, but it also sort of talks a bit about in the preamble about why now it is so important that the government does it. It's because they are making changes to our campus that will make it harder for students to get here. And I also did a bit of maths as well. If you look at the time that it takes to take a bus from from Oak Street to Curtin, it takes 34 minutes at the moment. But if you were driving, it takes 7 minutes. So quite a significant difference there. It's also something that we've advocated for in the past. But I think now more than ever, it's a time where we can kind of, say, look, state government, you guys have taken away a bunch of parking bays, which means, students are going to look to take buses and things to campus instead. You guys need to actually help us and support us in advocating for students to use public transport. Make it easier for students to get to campus.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments regarding the motion? All good. Move to a vote. All those for 8.2? All those against? Take that motion as carries. Next, we move on to 8.3, the Curtin Student Guilds Engagement and Union Movement. It's so that the representation board recommends the executive to come up with a strategy to engage with the broader union movement and unions WA, and for the executive to present it at the next meeting of representation board. Moved by Ebony and seconded by Tom. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yeah, me again. If you've had a chance to read it, it makes sense. It's important that we as the guild stand with other unions in the movement. It will also benefit students and young people, particularly students who are living paycheck to paycheck with the cost of living. They also experience some of the worst working conditions in their workplaces, and we have a duty to help students not only as students but also as workers. So just as we did sort of, we spoke out against cinnamon mistreating and underpaying young staff as well. So we've always been committed to engaging with the union movement as well. It's important that we continue to engage with them, and this motion is just about getting a thorough strategy to engage with unions this year and beyond, because these relationships will become particularly useful when we start to engage in broader and larger campaigns this year.
Any more comments or questions regarding that? I'll go Tom and then Dylan.
Yeah, just regarding the falling rate of unionisation in Australia. approximately 4% of under 19s and about 8% of under 24s are union members compared to the average of 13%. That's a number that keeps dropping, and those are stats from about a year and a half ago, so I can only expect it's gotten worse. But that leaves youth, and especially, many of them are students, of course, in a vulnerable position in the workplace, especially in youth-dominated industries. So it's important that we, as a student union, support and encourage students to go and join their trade union.
Yeah, I'll just move on to Dylan.
Yeah, absolutely. Fully support this. I think what we saw last year, where we managed to get Cinnamon off campus, which is also something I completely forgot about because that was outside of the reporting period, but they're gone. What's that? No, I know. I think a GYG is going to pop up there now, and none of you are allowed to go there because it is not a guild outlet. But you will get your burrito from GC Central, and you will like it. I think it's really important. The guild obviously puts things in place at the moment to protect workers, particularly workers that are younger, like in our outlets, not paying junior wages. But this is not the same for other places that exist off of campus. The trade union movement has always been a friend of the student union movement. I think that if we are going to be potentially having broader fights to make society livability, cost of living, to make it affordable to exist in society again, we're going to need to work hand in hand with the union movement. That means getting more students involved in their unions, and it means working closer with the unions on shared campaigns as well. So I'm very keen to see this come to fruition and to reinvigorate the connection that we have with trade unions.
Yeah, I'll just make a comment on that. My KPIs weren't in this report, but it will be at Guild Council. And one of my big focuses this year is definitely getting students job ready and more involved with their union. I think that's really important, and there's not enough education around that, certainly with like people I know and people getting into a job. So yeah. I'll just move on. Any more questions or comments about 8.3? No, move to a vote. All those for? All those against? Yep, that motion carries. Next, we'll move on to 8.4, Western Australian University merger for discussion only by Dylan.
Do we want to just move this to the end and then, because I intend to go in camera, so have a bit more of a free-flowing discussion. But yeah, can we do it at the end? Does that work? Cool. Keep you all waiting.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to motion 8.5, condemning the Labor government and the Australian Federal Police. It's moved by Hadia and seconded by Sada. I would like to speak to the motion. Just even in relation to some of the things Dylan said earlier, I feel like we're in quite a scary time with a lot of that's going on all over the country right now. I think it's really important to take a stand and not go into hiding and make sure that we stay strong and support our students. And I would take that. Did anyone have any more comments or questions regarding the motion? Oh, yeah, Max.
I'm sure everyone here has a send me on this. Just like to know that the post on this did go up on Ethno and Guild Socials day after it happened, and it's kind of disheartening to see how the mainstream media has portrayed this whole deal, like series of events, and it's quite important that we kind of make a loud disruption about this. Otherwise, we risk going down the path that kind of America's taking right now, and that's not good for anyone.
Thank you, Max. Did anyone else have any comments or questions regarding the motion? All good. We'll take that to a vote. All those for? All those against? I'll take that as carried. Next, we're moving on to 8.6 NUS conference reports. The motion is that the representation board notes the NUS conference reports. Can I get a mover, please? Sylvia, can I get a seconder? But Tom. Did anyone have any? Oh, actually, no, we're just gonna go to vote, right? Okay. All those for the motion. Cool. All those against? Take that as carried. Oh yeah, sorry, go to Sylvia. Yeah.
I noticed that there were some photos at the end of the report. Awesome. Thank you. It looked like you guys had a blast, so it was cool to see what you guys got up to. Anyways, thanks.
Austin is a great photographer. We learned that during the trip. At all. Next, we're moving on to 8.7 National Union of Students KPIs. Is that the representation board recommends to Guild Council the approval of the 2026 National Union of Students Key Performance Indicators and Initial Affiliation. Moved by Dylan, seconded by Morgan. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I would like to. This is a generic kind of thing that we do every year. It's part of our affiliation policy to the NUS. The representation board recommends a number of KPIs and a maximum affiliation amount to the NUS each year. And then as it comes up to time to do, which is then approved by Guild Council and then communicated to the NUS. And then later in the year, there is an opportunity to basically do an assessment, and it runs through a similar process where it comes back through to the reps board. We go through based off of what the exec has sort of suggested, but we can amend that as reps board more broadly. There's a number of penalties and deductions in there, which then come back to the final NUS KPIs and the final amount that we seek to affiliate to the National Union of Students. It's important to note that SAF money isn't used on NUS affiliation, which is just important to note because obviously we're not necessarily awash with lots of non-SAF money due to the commercial situation over a number of years. We'll be back there again. This year there is a total in the budget of $50,000 set aside for union affiliation, but that does also need to include the amount that we pay to the Council of Australian Postgraduate Associations and any other bodies to which we wish to affiliate to in the future. I know that there's a new international student body that's been launched recently, and I'm rather annoyed they've still not reached out to us. They're quite happy to just be GO8. So if you're listening, which they're not, they don't care, do reach out to us. But we might. I think we'll put Tarson on the charm offensive soon. But important to be involved with those kinds of places, and we'll see. They've got 2 WA representatives and all of them are from UWA. But anyway, I mean, I'm not going to... Right? I know, right. Anyway, that's fine. That's fine. Please just invite us. Anyway, it's just like FOMO. Anyway, so that's where we're at on the broader section. I've circulated an amendment. We'll get to that shortly. But if we want to talk more broadly, we can do that first and then go to the amendment.
Yep. Did anyone have any? Yep, we'll go to Zobia.
If the funding that we give to the NUS, sorry, if the funding that we give to the NUS does not come from the SAF, where does it come from?
Yeah, so it comes from other revenue that we generate, which in the Guild's case, the majority of that comes from our commercial portfolio, essentially.
Ebony?
Conscious that I know we are going to talk about like penalties and stuff, but can you please just explain the importance of us being affiliated with the NUS, just broadly, before we get into that?
Yeah, sure. The NUS is an interesting organisation, and it's certainly not where I would like it to be as an organisation, but it is kind of the best that we've got at the moment. As a forum for representing the views and interests of students, there is a lot of work that the NUS does that isn't particularly well recognised or well reported by the NUS. But it is essentially a national peak body for all student unions across the country. They're involved in a number of discussions with Department of Education, senior education people. Their job is to represent us at a national level to push for major reforms that benefit students. One of the big campaigns they're doing this year is around the Job Ready Graduates package, which was introduced in the dying days of the Morrison government, where the price of humanities, business, law degrees went through the roof. So that's a major thing they're working on this year. The Gender-Based Violence Code is a great example of something that we have more broadly helped coordinate campaigns to achieve. That is a student union win that was helped in large part because of the infrastructure of the National Union of Students. So it's important to be affiliated to them because essentially if we're not, we don't matter in those national conversations. And as much as it pains me to say, the Federal Department of Education isn't coming and asking me what I think every time they do something, but they do go to the NUS a lot of the time, and they go to organisations like CAPA, like the new international student body. So we need to be at the table to be able to influence what priorities they put forward to the government. And if we're not there, the interests of Curtin students won't be included. So I think it is very important. The KPIs are very much so focused on making sure that what the NUS is doing is aligned with what Curtin needs, and that the NUS is operating as a professional student organisation. I don't think we're going to get to a situation where we can remove the factionalism in the NUS. That's not going to be something that I think is necessarily achievable. So we've got to work within that system to an extent. But we want good governance outcomes. We want an organisation that's reflective. We want an organisation that can push back against underfunding student unions across the country. So I think there's a lot of systemic problems that have affected the NUS, mainly comes back from voluntary student unionism being introduced under Howard, which essentially cut off a lot of funding. So the NUS used to have research officers, it used to have it used to run travel centres and things like that across the country, like it had resources to do things for students. So it is a much smaller organisation now, thanks to the effects of voluntary student unionism, and we're seeing other compounding impacts of that. But I remain positive. I think there's a lot of things that we can do moving forward. I obviously have my gripes with a lot of issues, but if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So we need to be involved and engaged and put our case forward.
Yeah, is there any more? Yeah, I'll go to Tom.
Yeah, I think following the last national conference, we've got a left majority in the national executive. That's an almost unprecedented opportunity. I think despite that, though, we should maintain a critical approach to the NUS and always try and hold them to account. That's about it.
Thank you. Yep, Bonnie.
I read the last KPI and it's about their website. I was under the impression that their website was down from December and it was supposed to be up and running in December. But does that mean that penalty applies because it's down, or does it apply only if they don't provide the updates?
So the penalties are only enforced once the Guild Council, so next week, hopefully passes the KPIs that we've recommended to them. So they wouldn't get penalised if that wasn't up. It comes back to then when it comes back to us for assessment, which is if it's down for a couple more weeks after that, but then it's up, is that going to be a partial not following that KPI? That's up for us to have that discussion when it comes back up. But yeah, I mean, if it's down for another 6 months, I mean, a bit ridiculous, really. It's not that difficult to put a website up, but yeah, I could do it right now.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to the amendment. Is it the amendment?
Yes. I would like to move the amendment to item 8.7, which I circulated to all members of Reps Board earlier today. Do you want me to read that out, or you read it? Okay, yeah, easy.
So the amendment is, the motion is that the Representation Board amend Attachment A to add a new KPI and associated penalty as follows, that the NUS shall not contact or make representations to Curtin University Management without prior consultation with and approval of the Curtin Student Guild. The deadline is at all times and the penalty is $5,000 per breach. Would you like to talk to the amendment?
Yeah, so the NUS president wrote directly to Curtin's Vice Chancellor earlier this week regarding matters affecting Curtin students. I wasn't informed that this was happening, and the correspondence was only made, I was only made aware of it yesterday after being alerted to it by our Vice Chancellor. I provide a bit of background in here, but I can just read through it. So the letter did raise advocacy points concerning racism, anti-Semitism and gender-based violence, and the framing and context of the correspondence did not reflect the Guild's established advocacy positions or our ongoing advocacy and work with the university on these matters. In the correspondence, the NUS and the NUS president was positioned as an appropriate body for the university to seek advice from on behalf of students for Curtin management, which I view as directly undermining the Guild's role as the established independent representative body for Curtin students. We affiliate to the NUS and entrust them to represent Curtin students to federal, national bodies, and more broadly, that's what they exist to do. We want the NUS to represent student unions collectively at a national level. Our job is to represent Curtin students here. The mandate that we give the NUS by affiliating to them does not extend to acting unilaterally on a specific campus, nor to supplanting the authority of a member organisation in its own institutional context. I view the conduct as quite unprofessional, and it's not conducive to a strong or coordinated student union movement. I do believe it's undermined the standing of the NUS on campus, and it hasn't actually helped the NUS's cause, and it's not helped the Guild's cause either. Now, the particular letter at the moment wasn't particularly controversial. I think it contains some things that don't fully align with the Guild's position and the Guild's relationship with university management here. But I think we need to send a message that this isn't on, because in the future we could have a series of letters going back and forth between the NUS, which purports to represent us, and university management, which could be completely counter to the Guild's view on a particular issue. It could run in a way that runs counterproductive to a number of issues that we want to see as well on campus. So that's why I believe it's important that this KPI is adopted to establish those clear boundaries and ensure that the behaviour does not occur again. Happy to take any questions though.
Thank you. We'll go to Ebony.
I just wanted to ask, is this just, have they just sent this to Curtin, or is this to other universities as well? And the other thing I was going to ask is, are we just going to make this amendment to our KPIs, or is there going to be like another conversation that you have with the NUS president or another office bearer?
My understanding is that the letter was sent to all Vice Chancellors requesting a meeting between the NUS President and Vice Chancellors. My understanding is that we would not, well, I'm not the only union president that is a bit upset about that. Felix, the NUS president, who obviously I didn't dunk enough in the dunk tank, is supposedly at UWAO Day tomorrow. So I've sent him a message trying to see if we can meet with him, but he's not replying. So we'll see how we go with that. But we will, if we can't speak to him in person, I'll certainly communicate that with him in the coming week. Yeah. And in relation to where it sits with the VC, the VC said that there won't be any meeting with the NUS president without the Guild being there. And that, yeah, so this is a really awkward situation to be in, but I think it's important we send this message that we need to sort of set those clear lines of delineation. Not that there isn't a world where communication from the NUS wouldn't be warranted. It's just we need to be involved with that so that it's not overlapping with those issues.
Thank you. Any more questions or comments regarding that? Yeah, Sophia.
Will the NUS be notified every time they do a breach, or is it only when we are about to send funding to them?
That's a good point. We can certainly communicate that with them. I mean, I think that would be helpful to remind them if they've done that. I would hope that they would see this and that would stop, and we'll make that clear that we don't want to see this happen in this instance. If they keep doing it, I mean, I think that would be very silly.
Any more questions or comments? Yep, Bonnie.
I have a question, and it's kind of like an all over the place one, but do you know where, like when you provide the funding, do you know where it goes? So for example, if you provide the 50K and say 5 of that K goes to the First Nations officer so that they can support First Nation officers around Western Australia universities, and then like say they do a breach and then they lose 10K, so they like wipe it all from the First Nations officer. Like, I don't know if that's a thing, but.
Yeah, so we don't tie the funding necessarily to going to particular areas. The NUS needs to approve a budget. That's one of the KPIs. Didn't do that last year, where it gives the relevant officers the money. I want to be able to give the NUS more money because I want them to be able to do things with that money, like what we've just spoken about, right? So I want us to be able to fund them so that they can't have the excuse of, oh, we're not funded, so you can't expect us to do anything. So I think a well-funded NUS is important, but they need to be able to give some of that back. There should be a proper governance process. I remain confident that the NUS's governance this year is going to be a bit better. That's what I've seen so far from the new General Secretary. So I think there will be a proper governance process and a budget process this year. The NUS also does have, a not insignificant amount of money in the bank still, but they have been drawing down on that for a period of time now. So there's certainly difficulties there. But yeah, I'd want to see every department of the NUS funded in a way that works, obviously in a way that's also sustainable for them, but enables us to keep affiliating for, more. I'd love to see us get to the position where we can affiliate for the full amount and there isn't sort of major issues with the NUS, and we sort of broadly trust that they're heading in the right direction.
Thank you. Yep, I'll just go Jill.
Adela, you know very well, I don't know matters to do with NUS very well. But my question is, how can NUS expect you to fund them and yet they don't recognize your position in the university? They have to bypass you and give information to the vice chancellors. And number 2 question is there any possibility, or this is a suggestion, is there any possibility for the vice chancellors who received that communication to communicate back to the representatives of the NUS, instructing them to follow the right channel, because you are also an established organization working on behalf of the students in this university? I'm finished.
Yeah, I think it's a very valid point, which is why I've brought the KPI up. I would hope that us sending the signal is enough for it to stop, and to set that expectation so that it doesn't happen again. I wouldn't want to, throw the baby out with the bathwater on this front. When it comes to the Vice Chancellor's communication, I mean, sure, she possibly could do that. I feel like she's probably got more important things to do than get involved in this spat if we can avoid it. But what I want to do is actually put it behind us, have this board and Guild Council set that precedent, set that message, and we can say, don't do this again. And then from there, we go and say, lovely, let's move on and let's have a constructive relationship moving forward, because I think that's what's actually going to be in the interest of students at Curtin and more broadly.
Thank you. Any more comments or questions regarding that? Yep, Max.
This is more in general to like the affiliation. In past years, it's been mentioned that we're one of the highest like affiliating amount like campuses in the country. Is that still the case?
I believe it is still the case. I haven't seen the numbers from every other union at the moment around what what they've affiliated for. I mean, we affiliate for more, and we have done each year than what some student unions have as their whole budget for an entire year. Like that's the state of voluntary student unionism over East. There's some unions that only get, maybe a little under 1% of SAF funding. So like we're certainly in a better position to be able to do that and absorb those costs. So yeah, I'd imagine we'd be definitely up there. We're a large university. But when I get that information, happy to share it more broadly at what everyone else is affiliating for, and that might be able to help sort of shape our discussions moving forward as well.
Yep. I'd also just like to note that Ebony left the chambers at 6:47 and re-entered at 6:49. Is there any more comments or questions regarding the motion or the amendment? First, we're going to go on a vote for the amendment. Yeah, with the mover as Dylan and secondary Morgan. Take that to vote. All those in favor? All those against? That is carried. Next, we'll go voting for the motion the amended version of the motion 8.7. All those in favor? All those against? And that carries. Next, we're moving on to 8.3. That's now been moved to 8.8. Actually, 8.3, which is for discussion. Yeah. That's okay.
I'd like to move this. This is for the merger stuff, right? Yeah, cool. Sorry, I've lost in the agenda. I would like to move that we move in camera, but allow Andrew to stay if you're interested. Lovely.
Would anyone like to second that motion? Ebony, I'll get a seconder. And can I have and move to a vote? All those in favor of moving in camera? All those against? That motion carries. Oh no. Max, could you stop the live stream, please? Oh, perfect. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, I'll stop. Okay, I'll pass on.